going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto. We come at you live 9:30 Eastern every single day. This is the best technical analysis show on YouTube for cryptocurrency. We do technical analysis and news coverage here, and in today's video, not only are we going to be doing some technical analysis on some of your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, we're also going to be bringing you updates on what happened with the Federal Reserve and their announcements yesterday regarding interest rates, quantitative easing, and inflation. There have been a lot of waves in the cryptocurrency markets over the last 3 days in anticipation of this news. We're going to break down exactly what was announced, the impact it had on Bitcoin, and what the next 7 to 14 days on Bitcoin are going to look like now that this announcement has come to pass. I think you're going to really enjoy today's show. If you do, smash that like button. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am joined, as always, by my wonderful co-host, T.A. Tim. How you doing, Tim?
You know, I'm doing really well, and I'm really excited about today.
Yeah?
And you want to know why I'm excited about
Why are
today?
you excited today?
Because right after this stream is our membership.
Ooh,
dude,
yeah.
Membership stream.
Dude, I definitely didn't forget about that. I'm so excited.
Sounds like you might have.
Sounds
but
like
it's
you
okay
might have.
because I didn't.
Aw.
Make sure you're there. And if you're not a member yet, become a member really quickly, and then you can join us.
And then
for that.
join the
It's gonna be
membership
awesome.
stream. It's going to be great. Well, we're also joined, as always, by Smay. How are you doing, Smay?
I'm doing very good, guys. I'm doing very good today. But I did make a mistake here, guys. I was kind of scrambling. I gotta be honest with you, kind of scrambling. Didn't get to pull up the chat on my phone, so I'm kind of like I'm so excited here to open up who's the members I'm gonna be shouting out today. Oh, here's who I see. I see Adam Rourke, Crypto Sec Guy,
Ooh.
Alan Carey. Get away from this ad. Jojo, Crypto Couple, Elliot Locke. Alexandre Ignacio, I love you guys so much. I love you guys. You
Grant
guys are
Ricardo that
Inc.
just came in.
what? Oh, and Ricardo Vinegas. I love you
Yeah.
guys. You guys are literally the best. That I took this opportunity to scramble on my phone and close ads and do all this stuff because I just wanted to see and read your names.
We do this because
to make
we
you
love
guys
you.
feel special, and I love you guys. That's
We
what I
do
would
this
say.
because we love you guys, and it's because we want you to succeed, and because we're so very thankful for all of our members who help to keep the lights on around here. But we're also joined, as always, by Kelly, being streamed in from New York. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing excellent. I'm just still recovering from the boring and very indecisive direction from Jerome Powell yesterday. But we're going to be diving into that in a little bit. There's a lot of stuff it seems like may be coming, may not be coming, and interesting price actions surrounding the Fed meeting yesterday, just before it and as he was speaking. But where are we going from here? Well, I guess we're going to find out in this stream, and looking forward to seeing what we got.
We really shouldn't be that surprised that a political person gave us a political answer.
That's freaking true.
It makes a lot of sense, actually, in hindsight. We
Yeah.
should have really expected it to be just like that.
Yeah, people say that we say it could go up, could go down. That's exactly what Jerome Powell just said
Yeah.
to the entire nation. Interest rates, they could go up, they could stay the same. Quantitative easing, it could go down, it could stay the same. Interest rate, the federal funds rate could go up, could go down. And Jerome Powell's over here like, yay, I did my job. I said nothing. And they're just kicking the can down the road. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out over the next 12 months. But we're going to talk about all that today. Let me give you a little tease on what we're going to be talking about, and then we're going to jump into our market pulse. Vladimir Putin thinks Russia has a competitive advantage with crypto mining. And as we talked about a few days ago, one of the high-ranking government officials at Russia was talking about how potential cryptocurrency regulation rather than bans could be coming. Federal Reserve is stirring indecision. There is not a very clear direction that has come out from the meeting, and we're going to talk about that more a little bit later. And we're also going to be talking about how long-term holders are still confidently and strongly holding Bitcoin, and they're still very, very excited about where this market is going. If you are looking for a show that will be able to show you where to buy Bitcoin and how to think, not what to think, you found the right place, my friends. Stay tuned because we got a lot of content to bring you over the next hour and a half, but we're going to go ahead and throw it to Tim, and then we're going to jump into our market pulse.
I'm looking at it right now. We're going to need help from you guys. We're a little low on views. We're on 971 right now. Sometimes YouTube doesn't press this button. I noticed in one of the discords that I'm in with a lot of fans here on this channel, they talked about how sometimes YouTube doesn't press it. So if you guys hit that like button, interact, hit a 7 in chat, make sure YouTube gets this stream out so that people can see it, so there's more of you guys for us to be here in a community together. But help us out. Hit that like button. Let's get that like button. We don't usually press it this soon, but let's get that like button up to over 500 here in the next 2 minutes as we jump into all this, get more people in the stream.
Let's do it, man. We got a lot of great content to cover today, and I want to make sure as many of you guys see it as possible. So let's go ahead and jump on over to CoinGecko.com. You guys know I normally work with CoinMarketCap, but they changed their 24-hour price thing here so that you can see the biggest gainers and losers of all cryptocurrencies. And frankly, I don't really care what a rank 3000 coin is doing. So we're going to come over here to CoinGecko and take a look at it. As you can see, Bitcoin's currently trading just under 37,000. We're going to come right back over here, but I first want want to show you what happened yesterday. We saw Bitcoin was in this rising wedge. We talked about how rising wedges typically break to the downside, and I warned you that we were probably going to see a break down. We had seen ALGO, for example, come in here bullish, but we wanted to make sure that we weren't jumping the gun, and I warned you guys, hey, if you enter a long trade right here, you're probably entering a trade too early. And we have now seen it drop, but we're having a little bit of a bounce over the last 12 hours, so we're going to be talking about that later on in the show when we get to our Bitcoin technical analysis here in 7 minutes, so stay tuned for that. But as for the rest of the cryptocurrency markets, Ethereum is sitting at $2,500, Binance at $375, Solana at 93, XRP at 61, Terra's at 61, Polkadot's at 18, Dogecoin at 14 cents, and Cardano at $1.07. And all of these cryptocurrencies are definitely on a major discount right now. There are some great sales going on right now. And the interesting thing I want to point out, I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, but I talked about how whenever you see the market is in a very together moment where the whole market is moving up or down at the same time, the last 7-day price graphs will end up looking very, very similar. You can see it over here on CoinMarketCap, where they all bottomed out right where my mouse cursor is. Just take a look at this. Almost every single market bottomed out perfectly at the exact same time because the entire market capitulated at once. But now if you look to the right of my cursor on all of these markets, you can see they're all pretty much moving in different directions. That tells me that we're out of this really, really powerful total market collapse. Not collapse, drop. I shouldn't say collapse. The market did not collapse. I don't want to spread FUD, but we did have a big total market drop. And now we're moving to a point where there's a little bit of a decoupling going on between the altcoins and between Bitcoin. And we can see that in the last 24-hour price graphs because we have some 24-hour gainers and losers here that are down almost 10%, but then we have some gainers that are up quite a bit here. You know, Decred's up 10%, 6.3%, 2.9%. There's some pretty big gainers and some pretty big losers, and it indicates that the market is returning to a more stable position, and it's kind of entering this sideways movement right here, which is not a bad thing. In fact, it's a very good thing, and it does mean that we are reestablishing confident market structure, and it's going to allow the market to hopefully start to build back in a way that people are going to be able to be more confident to buy into Bitcoin. So in just a second, we're going to do some analysis on Bitcoin, but I do want to go ahead and check in with the chat if we have any super chats, and we can read those. But I really just want to take about 5 minutes here, just interact with you guys and get ready for the show. So Tim, do we see anything in chat?
I don't see any super chats necessarily, but let's see what, Cali Crypto Dude said, felt so proud yesterday when I knew the difference between, he said dove, but I think in dove and a hawk. Those of you who are questioning what that means, he's talking about knowing exactly the language that the Fed uses when talking about their monetary policy. Hawkish meaning kind of bearish. You can compare it to bearish or down. Dove meaning dovish.
It's almost aggressive and passive is the bullish and bearish is up and down, and hawkish and dovish is passive and aggressive.
Aggressive, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but usually dovish is more positive.
Actually, I think hawkish is more to do with the interest rates and inflation, and dovish has to do with keeping unemployment at its lowest. So
right.
they sometimes get skewed together, and whether or not they're talking about what their stance is, but it actually has more to do with their stance on if they're attacking inflation, if they're attacking unemployment numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gabriel Velez just gave a super chat saying, I didn't take any profits on the way up since I thought it would be going. With hindsight, what were the signals that I should have noticed?
That is a fantastic question. So I'll jump on the chart really quickly and I'll answer that. When we saw Bitcoin jumping up to $65,000 back in April, and then when we saw it jumping up to $69,000, $70,000 in November, a few of the signals that we should have been looking for were things like long-term RSI. So let me pull up my RSI here out on the weekly chart. We saw that RSI had jumped up towards the 70 levels, especially in the first run up here. We had jumped really, really high, and there was a bunch of bearish RSI divergence. You can see that there was some right here. And then we also saw that RSI jumped up to about 70 right here. Whenever we saw Bitcoin had a major drop from basically the same local high, then right here around $65,000 may have been a good place to sell. And to be honest with you, we probably on this channel we didn't think that it was going to drop this far. I remember when we started, I said, hey, it could go as low as 42, but it probably wouldn't go below that. I didn't think it would drop this low. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. But the fact of the matter is, what we should have done and what I wish I had done, and I'm actually going to make a video on this on Sunday, a car video about my biggest regret in this drop on crypto, is that I wish I had taken more profits up here, because my entire strategy for the last 4.5 years I've been in crypto is hodl, 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 hodl. And there's nothing wrong with that strategy, but I've gotten to the point now where my portfolio's doing very well, and I would like to have a little bit more cash on the side so that I can buy these dips. So another thing you can look at is the fear and greed index. You can look at the hype. You can look at the sentiment. You can look at whether or not Bitcoin is able to confidently break recent highs. So for example, when we broke through $20,000 right here, we confidently broke through it with a big green candlestick right here. As you can see, my trading view just messed up. Sometimes it glitches out like that. Let me reload this page. As you can see, around $20,000, Bitcoin very confidently broke 20K and then rocketed up. That's not what happened when we broke 65,000 over here. We broke it, kind of just barely tested it and then retraced. That was just, it was a double top. It was a rejection, and there were a lot of other things that could have told us that we were getting a little overextended. The thing that was weird about this is that it wasn't a blow off top, so it didn't seem like it was going to be a major top. Normally when you have a major top like this, you're going to see a blow off top. That's not what happened there, so it was a little bit different. And there's a lot of other things, but I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Let me see. I'm make sure we don't have anything else that came in while you were talking there. I don't think we have any other super chats. Let's see here. I want to make sure we don't miss any other good questions, though. By the way, today, guys, we're going to be doing the best we can to even scroll in chat, because as we discuss all this Fed update and the Fed news, we want to answer as many questions as possible so that you guys feel that you're in a good spot to know what to do moving forward. Whether you decide it's time to sell or whether you decide it's time to buy, we want you able to make that information and make that decision for yourself. So,
absolutely.
Super chat just came in from Alex Fisher saying Cosmos Atom undervalued, question mark?
I would have to look at that before I gave you an answer on that, but Cosmos is a very interesting project, I can tell you that. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Joe Blow said there is still a chance for a blow off top. Look at Cohen stuff.
Yeah, no, I think there is going to be a blow off top in the next, 12 to 18 months. At this point, I'm not as confident as I've told you guys on the like Q1 $100,000 Bitcoin. I really did. I thought we were gonna bounce at 42,000. I'll straight up admit that. The fundamentals and the technical, the fundamentals and the sentiment have been very bullish, and the fact that we pushed this low to the downside is surprising, but it also is actually very healthy because it means that we are getting undervalued. We're very undervalued right now on Bitcoin compared to where we were, even in just other parts of this, compared to other parts of 2021. So I do think that we're going to find a bottom at some point around 30K. I do think at this point we'll probably go down and test 30K. But with that said, unless there's anything else, we can actually...
We had two super chats came in, and,
cool.
and they're actually both pretty relevant. Mark Suber said, still thinking short-term down to 30K, then back up.
Yeah, to be honest with you, that is what I'm leaning towards, and we're going to look at that literally here in about 2 minutes.
Yeah, I want my answer. I think there's a chance we go that far. I think there's a chance. I think there's still a chance we go all the way down to that $25,000 region. That there are some indicators on the chart saying we could go. However, I think there's also a good argument to say we potentially only need to go down to 34, but we need to close a candle there, which sets up bullish RSI divergence, strong bullish RSI divergence that sends us back up. But that's a very good question, and one that we'll talk about the rest of the show, probably, Mark, and for the next couple of shows.
Yeah.
But Cryptosaurus Rex also said, I heard no hawk or dove. All I heard was a goose that cooked up nothing burger. Good morning, Crypto Jebb crew. Bring on Thursday.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. And like I said, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. It was a nothing burger is exactly what it was. What Jerome Powell did is he reared back, he put the can in front of his foot, and he kicked it down the road. That's exactly what he just did, and that's what they've been doing at the Federal Reserve for the last 50 years. And you and I are the ones that have been suffering from it. But we'll talk about that. Let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin, though, because, of course, everybody is wondering, where's the bottom on Bitcoin? And I totally get that. Let's try and find out ourselves. So Bitcoin has been in a prolonged downtrend. And part of the reason that I've been a little bit surprised that we haven't had a bigger recovery is that it's actually very uncommon and kind of uncharacteristic for Bitcoin to have just a straight downtrend like this without any major breaks in between. That does not happen very often because the bulls are normally going to have some kind of recovery. And I think that just speaks to the fact that a lot of the bulls right now are really in the long-term hodler camp rather than in the retail kind of newer player in the space camp. So there's not a lot of bulls right now that are noobs. I think most of the noobs right now are fearful, and that is leading to a very clear downtrend, but it's a very consistent downtrend. It's not a flat drop, it's a consistent downtrend because we have the noobs getting liquidated, getting wiped out, leaving the space. And I think that's what we're seeing happen here. But let's go ahead and talk about bottoms a little bit, and then we're going to try and look for levels that Bitcoin may pull back down to, because I know you are very curious about that. There's three major levels that jump out at us right now, guys. One of them is $33,000. That's the level that we recently pulled back down to. Then we also have about $28,800. You could call that $30,000. I'll just go ahead and draw a zone right there because it is a little bit more of a zone than a level. If we go ahead and draw a zone right there, then you could see that that is very much in the cards. And then, as Tim talked talked about, $24,000 is another level. That comes in from a couple of resistance levels over here. And Tim, where else are you getting $24,000 from, my friend?
So you had the head and shoulders pattern.
Yep, the head and shoulders.
And so when I said 20, remember I said 24, 25?
Yeah, 24, 25.
There's a zone there because you got the head and shoulders pattern playing out. You have the Fibonacci retracement level that goes all the way back to the beginning of this bull run back in end of 2020, or not even the end of 2020. It's more like, was that March? So let's see. September. No, it was September of 2020. When you have that, depending on which Fib you're looking at, we talked about that the other day, that there are times to look at the logarithmic Fibonacci, and there's time to look at the linear version. And so, to be honest, I have to redraw it to remember which one it was.
Yeah, it's 0.786 is at 22,500.
Yeah, 0.5 is at 20. Yeah, so which am I on? I'm going to check this real quick. I am currently looking at the logarithmic, and that one, 0.5, is sitting at 25,700.
Yeah.
So that is where I'm getting that number.
Yeah. So anywhere between, there's an argument to be made anywhere between 22 and 26. But let me just go ahead and clarify, guys. That could happen. I don't want to discount that. And to be honest with you, it's not an unlikely scenario. I do, however, think that we are going to see some bullishness coming in the next few months. And I think that we probably at this point will pull back down to $30,000, maybe just a little bit above it. We might not go all the way down there because I think the bulls, as we approach 30K, are going to start buying the dip in droves even more than they already are. And the people are going to start becoming more confident in the market. But at that point, I do think that Bitcoin will institute some kind of uptrend that will allow us to start coming out of this. At some point, Bitcoin is going to break this consistent downtrend. It might only be 2 weeks of upwards movement, but something is going to happen. We're just not going to continue going down, just straight down. It's very uncommon for the market to do that. So we are going to have some kind of significant bounce in the next month, I would say, but we'll see where that goes. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of our actual TA, though. So let's look at our oscillators to start with. As you know, we are currently in the process of attempting to put into place a bullish MACD cross on the daily chart. You can see that there is convergence of the MACD, and the histogram right here over the last 4 days has been converging, looking like it's moving into a bullish cross. And through that, we also still have bullish MACD divergence. So we have lower lows here on the price action chart, and then we have higher lows here on the MACD. That is very significant because that tells us that the market is in the process of going through a bottoming phase. Whenever we see MACD divergence, it typically is a signal that the market is about to reverse. We see similar things happening at other parts, in other places in the history of Bitcoin. For example, I'll just go ahead and draw you some bullish and bearish MACD divergence right here based on what we've seen before. You probably have never heard of MACD divergence, but it's something that we've been looking at quite a bit here on the channel recently, and you can see that there are several examples just like these. In fact, I'll go ahead and draw it out like this. Just take a look at these examples of MACD divergence, and they typically play out in a pretty strong fashion. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to play out tomorrow, but it does mean that it probably will play out at some point in the next month or so. Now, taking a look at some of our other technical indicators, such as the RSI, we can see that the RSI is still actually below the 14-day moving average. That's what this line is going through RSI. If you've been using RSI for the last, 5-10 years or whatever on TradingView, you're not familiar with this moving average on it. TradingView just recently updated their default RSI package, and it gave the ability to have this 14-day moving average, so we can see if RSI is above or below recent price action. Right now, we're below recent, not recent price action, but below recent RSI levels, but we are looking like we're having a little bit of a bounce. Now, I want to look at the candlesticks a little bit too, because if we look at the candlesticks here, they're telling us some very interesting things. We have one hammer, we have another hammer, then we have a shooting star right here, and then we have almost a spinning top right here. So this candlestick analysis landscape is very, very strange. We're getting a lot of very indecisive signals, and I'm going to kind of let them all cancel each other out here as far as some are indecisive, some are bullish, some are bearish. But the fact is, just take a look at what the market is doing. Dropped, bounced and rallied, and then it's rolling over is what it looks like. The rally that we're in right now is very, very indecisive. It is very much moving sideways. We attempted to rally back up here to where we started, up around $41,000 to $42,000. That has not been able to happen just yet. There's not a lot of confidence in this bounce, and the fact that we broke bearish out of this rising wedge only leads us to believe that even more. Now, there is an argument to be made that we're moving into an uptrend. You can say that we have higher highs and higher lows, yes, but that's only on the 4-hourly chart. That's not on the daily chart. On the daily chart, it looks like we're having a bull trap and we're completely failing to bounce. So, Kelly, I would love your opinion on this. What do you make of the way that Bitcoin has bounced over the last 5 days?
Well, I think it's just a clear. I mean, even with the volatility yesterday, just before, like leading into when the notes were released, the price shot up, and then as soon as the press conference was being held with Jerome Powell, the price started retracing. But I think that just speaks. That was more of like an immediate lens on the indecision that's in the market right now. Everybody's waiting for the confidence for some larger money players or something to really get that momentum moving so we can have a trend reversal to the upside. But I do think that the bounce at the 32.8, 33K level was at the bottom. You know, we won't know. I actually did a tweet about it earlier today. You know, at the end of the day, we can never really know where our bottom is until after it's passed and we're starting to make consecutive higher highs and higher lows. Can 33K be the bottom? Very much so. I know when I was looking at order books the other day, there was a huge amount of orders that were in the block, basically around 32K, which basically identified a potential floor. But that being said, we very much still could come down, get a scary wick that comes down and touches 29K. And just as Tim said, you know, one of the things I think we should all be aware of now as well, especially with all the YouTube channels, with all of the basically online Twitter, Bitcoin pundits, if you will. And there's like a general sort of consensus that starts to spread and be pervasive throughout the market, and where, for instance, before 40K could have been the floor, but when it's being expressly called by so many people, it gives a little bit of an incentive for big money to move the price past where everybody thinks it's going to be to get that final shakeout that we're looking for. So could we have found the bottom? Very much so, but we won't know till after. So we still need to plan for some downtime.
And it also encourages people whenever people start saying, "Oh, the bottom's at 33,000 or the bottom's at 42,000." Whenever everybody's saying that, what it does is it inadvertently encourages a lot of people to go and enter long positions prematurely. That's why whenever we say, "Hey, I think the bottom's close," I say, "Hey, wait a second before you go and you get in a long position, because if you're not careful, you're going to get liquidated." A lot of people say, oh, "Okay, the bottom's at 33,000 because CNBC told me, or because, you know, Jebb said that's what's going to happen. I'm going to go enter a long position because the bottom's in." But you need to let a little bit of confirmation build up. You need to see on the daily chart, if you're a day trader, 7 to 14 days of bullish action to come into play. Because if you don't and you enter the trade too early, you're going to get liquidated and you're going to actually be acting like a bull, but you end up being a bear because you got liquidated out of your long position. And we don't want that to happen. So that's another component of what Kelly's just saying, is that there's a temptation for people to go and enter long trades and then get liquidated, and it causes bearish price action. We've seen that happen multiple times recently with long squeezes, and people have gotten wrecked, and it's caused the market to drop quite a bit. But Tim, let me get your general take on the Bitcoin landscape here. What do you take of the fact that we're just in a straight downtrend for 3 months? Is that going to break soon?
Well, so this is something that, as we've been watching, I'm not going to give every bit of this downtrend to the Fed news. What I will say, especially reading articles, watching other people talk about what's happening, there was a large amount of this recent negative price action that was almost a preparation of this Fed news happening. So it's one of those things that's like a lot of the negative action. Again, it's not saying we won't drop down to 24 or 25,000. I still think that is potentially cards that could be played. But a lot of negative actions already happened due to that news. So the fact that that news came out pretty much saying nothing, there's actually a very real chance that we could jump back up between 42 and 46,000. And here's the reason why. Is because I think that was the region that the price was in when the Fed news started to potentially move the price down into where we are now in the mid 30s. The reason why I think we're going to jump back there, but I do think we're going to go down first, is that we, technically speaking, I was talking to Kelly this morning, it was not very strong on the 12-hourly chart. But we have strong bullish RSI divergence on every chart from the 12-hourly chart down. So the ones I look at is 12-hourly, 8-hourly, 4-hourly, 2, and 1. And then obviously you can go down to the other ones. Daily chart is the first chart where we do not yet have bullish RSI divergence. What I'm waiting on, and I think we're going to see this happen on the 4-hourly chart, I think we're going to actually go up a little bit higher in price. Whether it's today, whether we come down a little bit more and then go up, I think we're going to set up some strong bearish RSI divergence on the 4-hourly chart, which trends change all the time. But it's going to bring us back down. Just so you guys know, on the daily chart, our lowest close is 35,000. That's why I said, let's come back down. I don't think we have to go all the way to 30 or 29. We could close around 34. However, the RSI will not make it all the way down to what we hit the bottom of 20. So we might get the RSI to sit in the region of 25 to 30, set up that final strong bullish RSI divergence that we've almost always seen at the bottom of a downtrend leading to an uptrend. And then the daily chart takes us back up, not to 50, not to 60, but takes us back up to the 42 to to 46 region. And now this is where the fundamentals come in, or the updates come in. Remember that 46 was the region that whales decided. There was one whale that bought $2 billion worth of Bitcoin.
Yep.
They thought that before the Fed news started making its roll, they thought 46 was a good zone to buy. Then we saw another group of whales buy over 40,000 Bitcoin at 42. They thought that 42 was a good region to buy. Then the Fed news, we started ramping up Fed news. The price came down in preparation for it. I think the real zone we really should be in is 42 to 46, but the whales will take advantage of being down here in the 30s to pick up some more Bitcoin before we rally back up to where we were supposed to be, hover there for a little minute, and then we'll resume our rally to the upside. But I also wonder if it's going to be a little while before we hit an all-time high. I don't think we're just going to rocket back up to 69. I think we're going to go up back to where we really should be and move sideways for a little bit and let the market decide later.
No, I totally agree. And you know, one thing I thought about is, isn't it crazy that some of these whales are out here buying like 40,000 Bitcoin, and then you see a headline it's like El Salvador buys another 150 Bitcoin, and I'm like, these whales have 100 times the portfolio size of a country. Like, that's insane to me. Yeah, you know, it's just very interesting. But Tim, would you say that bullish RSI divergence on the 12-hour and down, because I'm actually going to show it on the chart here, because you're absolutely right. Would you say that this bullish RSI divergence on the 12-hourly chart has played out now because we had a bit of a rally? It played out into the rising wedge, and we broke bearish?
So it's played out, but okay, on the 12-hourly chart, we're starting to look at some bearish stuff there, but on the 4-hourly and so on, we have not played out bearish divergence yet. And that's my whole thing was when I called this a couple days ago, I said, guys, watch this price go up. What I was fully expecting was the price was going to come up to the $39,000 region, which we got close, but I thought the RSI would get a little higher, and it would set up that bearish RSI divergence,
I see what you're
sending us back down. It didn't do that.
Yeah, it didn't.
I think the 4-hourly chart, potentially, you know, they can't see my screen. There's a zone. If you did Fibonacci from the bottom, so there's a bottom wick around 32,900, right?
Yep.
And you went up to the top. We had a wick get as high as 38,700 and some change. If we use Fibonacci on that zone, the golden pocket was between 35.8 and 35.1. We came down and touched 35.5, right?
Yep.
So we actually on the 4-hourly chart, we're talking about a very short time frame. We're talking about a trend. Right now, it is a uptrend on the 4-hourly chart. We came down, retested, set a higher low. I actually think there's a chance the price bounces, comes as high as 40,000. That's not as high as 43,000, which is the last significant peak. But the RSI will get higher than the RSI was back during that $43,000 peak.
And set up bearish RSI
It'll set up the bearish divergence, bring us back down. And again, I'm looking for a candle close below 35,000. So 34,000 will do. Maybe it's 33, maybe it's 32, maybe it's 29 or 24. I don't know. But watch the RSI not get as low as it was during the deepest part of the RSI on the daily chart. And then watch that strong bullish divergence play out, and that will be the uptrend. And I think that could happen actually relatively quickly.
Tim, somebody said take a shot every time Tim says divergence.
Absolutely. Just so you guys know, people asked this before, divergence is one of my favorite indicators. Not the only one. You can't use it alone. You have to look at other things as well. But if you know what you're looking for and you're looking to expect things, go back and do back analysis on divergences, especially RSI divergence. I use MACD as well, but RSI divergences and back analysis are very reliable.
Very powerful. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, Jebb, this would be a great time to even like re-show. So when we get into the same position in the future, bring up the chart from basically on the daily and looking at the RSI divergences that went into the preceded the May drop, and then also the drop on the next two little rounds that followed it. You know, coming out of 29,000, that little we had a RSI divergence, right there, and then we had bearish RSI divergence on the next pump after 29, and we also had a bearish RSI divergence on the last peak up to 69. And every one of those, it wasn't like a 1 or 2 day thing. It was over a period of time, showing ahead of time that there was already weakness coming into that upward price action. And it's those things, as simple as that one thing is, it's such a simple thing to forget that when you're starting to see that, you need to really temper your exuberance on what sort of price action you're playing, or if you're still entering trades, start planning if you are trading, start planning your exits. If you're a long or a midterm investor, start planning where your stop losses are going to be, so you don't have to suffer the entire 30, 50, 60% drops.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely have to be very careful about that. I actually want to address what somebody in chat said. I think it was Feng Shui, I think is his name. I don't know how to pronounce that, but he actually mentioned down here on the 4-hourly chart, could we be seeing a cup and handle formation right now? So we have this rising wedge, but we actually also look like we could be forming a cup and handle formation right here. And if we were to form a cup and handle, then the price target here would be sitting up around, depending on how you draw it, $42,000. So Tim, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. What do you think about the idea of us entering a cup and handle formation? That actually makes a whole lot of sense to me.
You know what? You know why it makes so much sense is because obviously you're doing a rough region. It might not make it as high as 42. And I told you, if we do not close above 43, we will set up bearish RSI.
Yeah, exactly. It plays into what you're talking about.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, that plays into exactly what you're talking about. So could it be a cup and handle formation? Absolutely. Would it be a bullish thing? Not exactly.
It would actually be short term.
It would short term be bullish for the next 3 days, but then it would actually be bearish. The traders will love it. And by the way, guys, if you're a trader right now, you should be on cloud 9. Because there's a somewhat clearly defined trend and there's a ton of volatility. So if you're a trader right now and you're worried about, oh, we're going down, you're in the wrong boat. You need to be excited because there's money to be made out there. But let's go ahead and take a look at Lux Algo here. By the way, guys, if you haven't gotten Lux Algo, you definitely should. It's a very powerful technical indicator, and it did give us a confirmed buy signal the day before yesterday, I believe it was. As it's loading here, we'll see. But we did see that Lux Algo came in here with a buy signal. We saw green trend catcher, and then we saw Lux Oscillator, and we did. We went to the upside. We saw the buy signal right here. We ended up rallying 8%. So that's solid. The buy signal came in. It was accurate. The misinterpretation that people make with Lux Algo is saying, oh, there's a 4-hourly chart buy signal. It must be about to go up on the weekly chart. No. Hold your horses. It means it's going to go up on the 4-hourly chart, and that's what we've seen happen right now. And now, Lux Algo is basically saying, hey, we're in an uptrend, and we just want to make sure that we stay in this uptrend, but we need to have a little bit more confirmation. If we're going to go into a downtrend, we'll need confirmation of that. So it's saying we're in an uptrend, and we are. We are in an uptrend. So Lux Algo, you came in clutch here on the 4-hourly chart. You're absolutely right. My favorite technical indicator in crypto analysis. If you haven't gotten it already, you definitely should. You're missing out. Down here on the 6-hourly chart, also saying we're in an uptrend, which is true. We are technically in an uptrend. It's not a very strong uptrend, which Lux Algo is saying it's a weak uptrend, but they are saying it's an uptrend. By the way you read this, see how this says buy and this says strong? This said strong because it was saying it was going to go into a strong uptrend. It was not confirmed, though. Remember, we don't just use buy and sell signals, but we do look at the buy signals, and the color of the candlesticks is very important. So this is saying we're in an uptrend, but it's a weak uptrend, and that is absolutely true. It is an uptrend, but it is a weak uptrend. We still see the same thing on the 12-hourly chart, but we do not see the same thing, at least to my knowledge, on the daily chart. We do not have trend catcher turn green. And we do not see a buy signal on the daily chart. In fact, we have not seen a strong confirmed buy signal on the daily chart since October the 4th. This one was invalid because we were already in an uptrend, so this was just reconfirming what we already knew. So the last time we saw an actual important strong uptrend on the daily chart was, let's see here, 116 days ago. So they don't come in very often on the daily chart, but if we do see a confirmed uptrend on the daily chart, that is going to mean a whole lot to me, and I'm going to make sure I report that to you guys. So make sure you get Lux Algo. The link's in the description box down below. Kelly, we're about to move on here to your segment, and we're going to hear about some on-chain and some headlines. But before we do, I want to ask you, is there anything that you're seeing in the technical landscape on any of the indicators that we've missed that you think the audience ought to know about?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first things I want to show here, if you can see my screen, is here we go, is this massive trend line that we have from the peak here at 64K that came down, was basically a bit of resistance here, support, resistance, or sorry, support. And then where do we reject off of? Basically almost entirely right off this line, which is a great that's one of the major importances of having trend lines, not just horizontal trend lines, but trying to find various trend lines that you could see how price action may respond in future. Even when the price isn't in that region yet, you'll be surprised to see regularly that price will tend to go down to those regions or up to those regions that those continued trend lines progress out either below or above where you're at. Additionally, exactly in line with what Tim was saying, looking here on Market Cypher on the 4-hour, we're getting basically a bullish divergence on the momentum that's coming up here. And not only that, I wouldn't call this a full-on buy signal yet. However, we're having the anchor waves, large anchor wave, small anchor wave, and it's starting to get into trigger waves here. But the more important thing I'm looking at here is this money flow, where the money flow is starting to come back in, and it's really starting to get aggressive back towards the 0 line, and the VWAP in concert with this money flow coming back up. This VWAP is a super sharp bullish angle back up. So now what we're looking for for is a green dot here of the momentum shifting back on the 4-hourly back to the upside. But we also have that last thing we're looking for, which not only is RSI together, both these two different RSI lines. This is showing a very confluence of direction and market sentiment in terms of between these various indicators that they use on Market Cipher to create this essentially like a dual band RSI, and they're both headed back up. Now going in, that's basically what I'm seeing with the Market Cipher and the trend lines. But basically going into the stories that we want to cover today, and I'll just briefly run through these headlines. First one was in regards to Russia initially coming out 3 or 4 days ago, maybe 5 days ago now, talking about potentially banning crypto. Well, that was very quickly sort of trumped by the next day, the next 2 days by not only the finance minister, the director of finance, but then also Putin came out, President Putin, and basically said that he actually thinks that Russia is in a unique position to be competitive, again, have a competitive advantage against the U.S. Primarily, and you can go through and read this article yourself. It's on Yahoo Finance. But essentially what he's saying is he's discussing the fact that Russia has so much surplus energy, but then in addition to the surplus energy, they also have cheap energy to boot. And with that being said, they already hold, I think it says here, 11.2% of the global mining hash rate, which if I'm not mistaken, they're the second largest nation to have the amount of hash rate that they do.
They've also got,
so
they've also got natural coal too, which is a really big deal for them.
Mm-hmm.
They use that in the natural gas industry also.
This will be interesting to see how this plays out. You know, I was joking with Tim yesterday. You know, I'm not going to say the word, but the cold blank that we are in from the 60s all the way to the basically the late 80s. You know, is it the cold blank storage war?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
well, here's another thing. Is I know they say that I know the central bank of Russia doesn't want it, but what really? I mean, how many things in Russia happen against Putin's will?
Not very many.
If Putin wants something,
if Putin wants it, Putin gets it. And also, here's the other thing. But I forgot who. Somebody said in chat earlier, with the sanctions that could be placed on Russia, there's a potential that they could be locked out of SWIFT, which is a way that money it's the way the global economy's credit and debit system works. If they get locked out of that, then maybe they'll say, hey, well, we'll just adopt Bitcoin. That's probably not going to happen, but it is something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And now running through the rest, this is just, I mean, we could go into stories and all these different opinions about the Fed meeting yesterday. But at the end of the day, it comes down to this: the Fed signaled it's ready to raise a key short-term interest rate in March for the first time in over 4 years. The bank's benchmark rate has been set near zero through the entire pandemic. The bank is also poised to start reducing this is the key point right here. The bank is also poised to start reducing its $9 trillion stockpile of bonds perhaps as early as the spring. So this is something we're really going to have to watch. And I think this is this sort of caveat here, and more so the indecision about actually, hey, make a call, make a call about what you're going to do, like have the cojones to do what needs to be done, or say you're not going to do it. Stop having this indecision, the speculative, questionable. And I think that's this questionable narrative is why I think not only the traditional markets, but Bitcoin and crypto included, are having this sort of upswing, downswing. Nobody's willing to make that first move because everybody's unclear about what's going to happen.
Yeah, well,
now going into, go ahead.
Well, the thing about the thing about monetary policy is that you're looking for a definitive answer from somebody. You need to have a clearly defined direction from someone who's in charge of that, the Federal Reserve. So when they come out and say, oh, well, we don't know, we might do this in 3 months, we might do that in 3 months, we don't really know what we're going to do, then that causes a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's why the stock market has dropped so much, in my opinion, and that's why crypto's dropped so much. We need a definitive answer on what we're going to do about the inflation. We are sitting here and letting a bullet wound bleed out instead of saying, okay, let's take the bandage off and let's put sutures on it, or let's put, another bandage on. Let's do something instead of just letting it sit here and fester, and that's what we're doing. And Jerome Powell, it would have been nice to have a clear answer, but we didn't get that.
Now, basically, to sort of tie that together into what's going on with the Bitcoin market, this is an article basically on Cointelegraph, and they're bringing up the reserve risk on-chain metric. And this is essentially showing, and here's the thing that I want to make clear about on-chain metrics. When you see an on-chain metric, for instance, this one right here that shows that the price, not only the price, the price, but this on-chain metric is entering a buy zone. This is a leading indicator, less of an immediate, and it's not lagging. It's basically showing the interactions within the underlying blockchain, what people are doing, how they're doing it, how it relates to the price, and long-term holders versus short-term holders. And in this case, the reserve risk is showing that based on historical metric action and price action correlation, that we are entering a buy zone. This doesn't mean that the price is going to immediately shoot up after this, but it's showing based on historical trends that we are entering a zone that historically is near a very good zone to start accumulating. It doesn't mean to go all in if you haven't gone in yet, or to completely reverse if you're a short trader or you're trading the downtrend. It doesn't mean to immediately reverse, but it means to keep your eye, just like the RSI divergences, when they're starting to show if there's a bearish RSI divergence, it doesn't mean that the price immediately drops down, as you saw in the charts earlier. I think it was around February and March, we started having very large bearish RSI divergence, and that didn't play out until the end of May. So same thing here with this on-chain metric. The reserve risk is just showing that we're entering the area that could be a good entry point. That could mean price action goes sideways for a while, that goes up. It could mean it dips down to as far as 24 or 25. It just shows that we are entering that zone. Yeah. Now to follow that up, I'll just wrap this up quickly. We can jump into the discussion. This is just something showing that the short-term holders are selling, and that's not surprise. This is in complete confluence with what I showed yesterday with the rational root here, showing that this first pump, the beginning of last year, was caused by hype. We had divergences. We didn't have the real strong demand side. We just didn't have demand for selling. And so this was just caused by the conviction of long-term holders. And much to be said, I actually even copied on my Twitter here the Glassnode chart showing that the number of exchange withdrawals is starting to come back up, which is a very bullish thing. That means people are taking their assets off exchange because they're not preparing to sell them. And then additionally, this last one here, the hodled or lost Bitcoin, we're still trickling up as much as price is coming down. We're still showing conviction from long-term holders, and that is incredibly bullish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to show another tweet really quickly here from Matthew Hyland at Matthew Hyland _ over on Twitter. He said, I tagged all the FOMC meetings on Bitcoin chart over the last year, not drawing any conclusions, just providing the data. If you take a look at this chart, you can see the FOMC meetings, Federal Open Market Committee meetings, which is what we're just seeing, mean basically nothing. It's like everybody freaks out about it. And it's not that they mean nothing. There normally are some small little movements that follow these meetings. And then guess what happens? The market forgets about it in a week. So this is a nothing burger story. If they had to come out and said, okay, we're raising interest rates, or okay, we're not raising interest rates for 2 years, or okay, we're cutting quantitative easing down by 60% or something, then that would have been a big deal. They didn't do that. Basically, what Jerome Powell came out and said is, we're maybe are going to do something about quantitative easing. We're maybe going to do something about our $9 trillion in bonds, and we're maybe going to do something about our interest rates. But we're not. But we don't know what we're going to do yet. We have no idea. We just want to let you know that we're thinking about it, right? Because we want confidence from our regulators, but that's not what we're going to get when you're dealing with the Federal Reserve. The only thing you can bet on is that they'll continue inflating the U.S. dollar to the point where you don't have any more of them, or in fact, you would just need so many of them that you'd have to have a wheelbarrow to go and buy a Big Mac at McDonald's. But maybe I'm being a little too harsh. The sad thing is that Jerome Powell really is backed into a corner, so I do feel for him. I'm not trying to demonize the man. The fact is, it's a broken system that he inherited, and it's a very, very difficult system to fix, but we do need to start taking steps in the right direction to fix the system and slow down the inflation and raise the interest rate so the economy is not running on steroids like it has been for the last 2 years, because you can only drink so much coffee in a day before it starts messing with you. Believe me, I know all about that. I haven't had any coffee today, actually. I'm just excited. This isn't even caffeine. I'm just excited. Anyway, Tim, I want to ask you a question about all of this. What do you think? A lot of people it's very easy to blame the president or blame a congressperson or blame a mayor or blame Jerome Powell. I really don't want to come on this show and blame Jerome Powell for more than he deserves. He really did inherit a bad system. How much of what's going on right now is Jerome Powell's fault, and how much of what is going on right now is the fault of the system that he inherited when he was appointed?
If you want a number, I don't have a number, but I'm glad you asked the question like that, because I wanted to talk about something you said before, and it answers that question. Maybe it's not all Jerome Powell's fault. However, he was hired to do a job.
That's true.
when you don't get the job done, it's time to find another person. And maybe he did the best he could, but guess what? Especially when we're talking about the market that runs almost the entire global economy. If you're not doing a good job being the head of the market that runs the global economy, it's time to find somebody else to do the job. Is it all his fault? Probably not. But is it somewhat his fault? Absolutely, because that is his job. Now, if his hands are tied, now we get into, all right, voters. I know this show does not get political often, so I'm not going to make any type of recommendation. But guys, it's make sure you're paying attention to who you're voting for.
Yeah, go out and vote.
Don't just read one issue and say, well, that's who I'm going to vote for. Look at all of it. Look at everything that's happening, because if you think that voting on one issue is going to change everything, when you don't pay attention to certain issues, they come back around the back door to bite you in the butt. Just because you got the one thing you thought you would get doesn't mean that thing's not going to get taken away from you because of something else that you weren't even aware of is happening. And in this case, again, is it Jerome Powell's fault? I don't know. Is it the government's fault? Ultimately, they're the ones that put him in place. So yes, it is their fault. Yeah. So either they need to find someone else to do the job, or we need to replace them for their jobs and elect someone who will pick the right persons for the job.
So, Smay, you just said in chat, and I love it, imagine your money being dependent on a meeting, lol. And that's absolutely true. What do we do, Smay, to reverse the system that we're currently in? Because we're in a self-perpetual, we're in a long string of dominoes, and the dominoes are falling and falling and falling and falling, and then you get somebody in the Federal Reserve chairman seat, and he might try and prop up the dominoes and stop them from falling, but he's going to get crushed. Like, Jerome Powell alone, I don't think has the power to stop all of this inflation. He's already set things in motion in his term and have been set in term in the last 50 years. How do we unravel this broken system of financial management that our government is using?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is just my personal philosophy, but it's time to start taking matters into your own hands, right? You know, you can't hope that somebody else is going to take care of you for you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think this is one of the things, especially now, people always thought that applied to everything else in life but money, right? But no, now we're in a world where it can apply to money as well. You have to take responsibility for your own money. And that means, hey, I think at this point, people are waiting and depending on the governments to adopt Bitcoin. What happens if we all just adopted Bitcoin? And now I'm kind of pitching a utopia, right? But what happens if we all just adopted a decentralized currency like Bitcoin and just said, we're just going to exchange this, forget about the government, you know? And then they would have to do it because we did it. And that they need to maintain some kind of power, some kind of grip, but we've taken that away from them because we have the power to do so. Like, that's the thing about it. So it's like, I think too many people forget that there are, what's the population of, I'm just going to speak for the United States. 330 million. How many people work in the government?
About 3 million, 4 million, something like that.
Okay, so those are two very different numbers. Yeah. So it's like, who has the power, really?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Us. So, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, Smay. I'm Kelly, we'll go to you in just a second. I love what you're saying, Smay, but here's what people need to realize. It's not as simple as what Smay just said, the utopia concept of, why don't we just all go ahead and adopt Bitcoin? That would be perfect. Is that going to happen? No.
Yeah.
Here's what has to happen. If you're just sitting here saying, and I think this is what a lot of people make the mistake of doing, I'm going to worry about me, myself, and I. If other people want to do whatever they want, that's fine. Here's the reason that does not work. Is because if you stay in your house, if you just do your own thing, and you expect the rest of the world is never going to come in and infringe on that, you are fooling yourself.
Yep, that's true.
You have to be proactive. Why are we as a channel so big about community? If any of you ever wonder why we talk about that word over and over and over, it is because if we have an individual mindset, if we have a I'm going to worry about me, myself, and I mindset, guess what? Your house might not burn at first, but when the rest of the world burns, eventually your house will catch fire. Rather, get outside of your house. Go help others. And what I mean by that is, don't sit on the sideline and call people idiots for not getting into crypto. Go educate them. Go talk about it. Get it out there. Like videos. Share videos. Like even the whole series we just made, Why Bitcoin? Maybe you already knew all that stuff. Share it with people. Go find, don't even just want to pump our channel. There are so many good pieces of content out on the internet. Find them, share them, evangelize crypto, because utopia will not happen by itself. You have to be proactive, the individual. And when the individuals cease to act individually and do things in a community basis, that's when the world will change. That's when the governments will have to actually listen to us. But it's that concept, if I stand by myself, I'm one person. If I combine with everyone around me, I become a massive force.
Well, that's exactly, but
we'll have to move on here just a second, so let's wrap it out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's exactly what I'm saying, though. That's why I was saying it's we the people thing. Yeah, so that's exactly it.
Absolutely. Well, guys, really quickly, we're gonna move into a discussion here and read some super chats because we got a lot to catch up on. But I do want to let you know today's show is brought to you by iTrust Capital. If you want to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies using your IRA, so you can take advantage of those tax deferral options, you can sign up for iTrust Capital with the link in the description box down below. We've done an entire review video on it, so if you'd like to see how the product works, then you can go ahead and check that video out on the channel. Let's go ahead and read some super chats, though.
Yeah, we got a good amount. I do want to start with a regular chat from Trail Grinder. He gets my vote for my favorite comment of the day. I'm gonna change one of the words. He said "holy poop." You know, assume what the other word was actually. He's talking about Kelly's chart. Looks like a strategic chart to catch Bin Laden. That's solid. I love that. I love that. I've said before, Kelly's charts are ridiculously intelligent, but to someone who doesn't know what they're looking at, it is absolute chaos.
Kelly, you look like the dude with the whiteboard who's like pinning things like, "Look, guys, I caught him." It's the meme.
No. I mean, while I was there in Florida with you, I was staying with you, Jebb. I remember you walked in one day and you looked like, "What are you doing?" I was basically, and this is everybody should do this regularly. You have multiple different charts that you use. You have empty charts, you have trend line charts, and so I basically went through and I tried to basically what's called the spider line strategy, which essentially is just basically drawing lines and lines on lines on lines on lines of all the different trend lines. And I don't use that regularly, but I do like to see, sometimes I check back in to see where the price basically when it's falling in undictated territory, I get a good idea of where some bounce and entries or exits may be. Yeah.
Gosh, that's so funny.
That meme is pretty accurate, though, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm going to save that. I might pin that one.
You've never seen that meme before?
No, I've seen the meme. I'm talking about the comment. Trail Grinder's comment.
That's pretty funny. That's
made
pretty
me
funny.
LOL.
BitConnect.
All right. Super chats now. Guns and crypto. The timing of Russia doing crypto regulations and the EU and the US talking about possible Russia SWIFT systems ban is too coincidental. Do you think the US and the EU introduced the SWIFT system ban? Will Russia adopt crypto?
I don't know if they would be, they can't adopt crypto that fast. Russia would be incapable of adopting Bitcoin at the speed at which El Salvador did. El Salvador has 4 million people. It took them 90 days to get it implemented. I interviewed the guy that handled the fraud and the onboarding for it down at TNABC 2022. And it was an incredibly complex and difficult task. And the Russian nation has, I believe, about 128 million people in it. It's about 30 times larger than El Salvador. Them bringing on national Bitcoin adoption would take at least a year. So that would not be a short-term solution for them. And to be honest with you, it wouldn't really make sense because what Russia is trying to do and what Putin wants to do, Putin is very upset because he was born too late. He's very upset because Russia used to be the Soviet Union, which was this massive global superpower empire, and he came into power in the early 2000s, and he wants to bring back that power of Russia that they once had. If they adopt Bitcoin, then they lose power because Bitcoin by its nature is decentralized and nigh completely uncontrollable. So they might invest in Bitcoin mining, they might promote it being used in their economy, but I don't think that the Russians are going to move away from the ruble. I think that they would find another way to get around SWIFT. And frankly, Russia is positioning right now, but they don't want to get locked out of SWIFT. They do not want some of these sanctions that are coming in their direction. And as much as they want to pontificate, they will comply with that and here's another thing, and we're not getting political here, but this is geopolitics. It's a little bit different. A lot of people talk about Russia cutting off natural gas to Europe and then that shutting down Europe. Well, you got to realize a huge part of Russia's economy is that natural gas, are those natural gas pipelines and exports that go to Europe. So if there is some kind of conflict there, that's going to mess up Russia. So the point is, I don't think Russia is going to get themselves in a position where they're going to get locked out of SWIFT, which even if they did, I don't think that they would turn to Bitcoin as the solution.
Let's keep moving on. We got a couple more super chats here. Dynasty happens. And he asked this way earlier, so I want to be sure we're answering this correctly. But he said, what would be the best play if you lack capital?
What would be the best play if you lack capital is invest in your education. That's what I did. When I got into crypto, the first year, I had basically $0. And what I did is I studied every single day. There's two ways to make money. One, with no money, one with money, right? You can use money and compound it to make more money, or if you don't have any money, you got to go out and hustle. So you can invest time to make money, or you can invest money to make money. Every single person who has ever become a billionaire did not invest their time. They did not work $15 an hour. They did not work $100,000 an hour of speaking gigs. That's not how you get rich. You have to figure out a way to make your money make you money. But before you have enough money to have your money make you money, you first have to invest time. What I did to get my start in my career, because 5 years ago, I didn't have a dime to my name. I was in high school. I had nothing. I spent a year doing nothing but studying two things, entrepreneurship and cryptocurrency. I made a video on this channel every single day. I turned my time into money, and now that I have money, I can use that money to multiply itself. So if you don't have any capital, invest in your education. There are so many free ways to do it, and once you have a little bit of money, one of the first things I would encourage you to do is to invest in some very centralized, which I know we hate that word, but curriculum-based, maybe I'll say, education such as the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. So if you're interested in learning more about cryptocurrency markets, how to do technical analysis, check out CT2A down below. I launched it almost 4 years ago, and we've been teaching thousands of students how to read markets ever since.
I missed this earlier. We have a new member. We have a new Jebb youngling, Lucas Jaskolski. So welcome. That's gonna be awesome. I'm assuming, Lucas, you're gonna be in our meeting, so maybe we'll get to meet you and answer your question there. Eric Liddell said, do you think this will be the year of the crypto credit card? Mass adoption is great, but what are your thoughts on decentralization if banks issue cards?
Well, that really comes down to a question of custody. Are the banks custodying it? Which they almost certainly would, because that's the reason banks were invented in the first place, was to custody your money so that you don't get robbed or looted on the road. I really don't think it would impact decentralization, because decentralization is actually not so much about where the coins are. It's about more of where the hash rate is, at least in a proof of work environment like Bitcoin. The banks are not going to be getting into the mining game. That's not their industry. They might, but they're predominantly not going to get into that. Bitcoin is just as decentralized now as ever. In fact, it's more decentralized now than it ever has been after the China ban last year and all the miners dispersed across the world. So I don't think it would actually impact decentralization in the core, in the essence. The idea of decentralization was not necessarily that we don't want half of the Bitcoin being in the hands of 20 people. That is centralization of the supply, but really the decentralized nature of Bitcoin, what it's talking about is the decentralized nature of the mining.
A couple more? Or you
I will add to that too. I remember NYDIG, New York Digital Investments Group. I forget the name of the processor or the whoever helped facilitate it, but they released a story, and I think about 7 months ago, and I think it just went live in the last few weeks, where they partnered with somebody that basically gave access to 300 local banks around the U.S. To basically sell and for their customers, or those 300 banks, to sell and trade Bitcoin and other cryptos as well. But then that goes directly back to what you're saying. You know, the network will still remain secure. But the one thing I will argue for, and this goes directly back to what Tim and you, Smay, said, and Jebb, you say it all the time, and that's the level of responsibility. You know, one of the things that we get from Bitcoin is the explosive gains. But with those gains, when you're participating in this market, also comes a responsibility, because you lose your password, you lose this, you actually send to the wrong address. That all responsibilities that you don't call a customer service line and say, hey, I messed up, can you give me my money back? And similarly, if you have these 300 banks with their thousands or millions of customers that use those banks, what happens when you put your dollars, your fiat, in a bank? Well, what they do, how they make money on it, is they have custody over that money. You technically don't own it anymore. You get an IOU based on that bank, and they lend out and use your money to make money. So the same thing's going to happen if you're using a bank to hold custody over your Bitcoin. So I would advise anybody moving forward with this. It goes right back to what you just said, Jebb. It's all about education. You can't make the best decisions until you have adequate knowledge to make those decisions. So even if you have money to jump in, I still would request of you as a friend to do yourself the privilege of having some education so you can make the best decisions and take the best care and responsibility over your assets.
Absolutely, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and move on here to Ethereum. We're going to read some more super chats in a little bit, but I do want to bring you a word from another one of our sponsors. It's actually the watch brand that you see me wearing every single day, Vincero. If you guys don't know, I have been wearing this watch brand for the last 3 years, and these watches are absolutely awesome. It looks incredible, makes me look a lot better, I think. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I think it makes me look a little cool. And you know, I actually have a really cool story about these watches and just how indestructible they are. If you remember to about 2.5 years ago, Tim remembers this because he saw me at the time time. I own a motorcycle. I own a CBR 300R. It's black and red, and I love it. It's a 286cc bike. It was my first motorcycle. It is the only motorcycle I've ever owned. I wheelied it, and I crashed it, and it almost got me in a lot of danger. I injured myself. I landed on my arms. I was wearing my Vincero watch, and what happened is I skinned myself up on the concrete. I was going about 15 miles an hour, wheelied it, landed on my hands and knees, straight on the watch face, barely even scratched it. My entire body landed on asphalt at 15 miles an hour, and this watch did not even get damaged. These things are indestructible, and they look phenomenal, and we are so very proud to have them as a sponsor. So make sure to check out the link in the description box down below. Go get yourself some bling with some of your Bitcoin gains. I understand that some of you are probably sitting on the sideline like, I took some profits. I want to treat myself a little bit and then buy back into Bitcoin with it. These watches are absolutely incredible. I even bought my brother one for Christmas last year, way before we ever had a sponsorship with Vincero. I bought my brother one for Christmas, and his girlfriend really likes it. She thinks it's her favorite piece of his apparel. So make sure you check out these watches. You'll be glad.
And you can get 15% off, guys, using code CryptoJebb.
Yes, you can.
So all those details are in the description. So go check it out.
Yep.
You want to know a fun story? Fun story about that.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Told. That was Jebb and I had known each other for a couple months.
Yeah.
I would say that night is the night
like,
that Jebb and I started actually spending a lot more time together.
That's true.
I noticed him in the room, in the edge of the room, just being very quiet, which is not. You guys know Jebb. Jebb is not a quiet person.
I was very quiet.
And I noticed, and I knew him enough to know that's not normal Jebb. So whenever I talked to him, got his side of the story. Obviously that's a very traumatic experience.
I don't mind you telling it.
Well, that was the night that Jebb and I spoke a lot to each other. He talked about how traumatic it was.
Yeah.
And we went out of our way to spend a lot more time together. Ended up training together. And sure enough, now I'm sitting here in the company.
Yeah.
So it's like, Vincero
brought Tim and I together. That's a good point. Do you want to be brought together with good friends and maybe a girlfriend? Girls like these watches. I'm just saying. I know it. Yeah, they like it. Yes, they do. Make sure to check it out. CryptoJebb 15% off. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and jump into Ethereum here, and then we're going to come back and read some super chats. Very, very interested in what Ethereum's about to do. I do believe that we are going to see Ethereum follow Bitcoin very closely here. Ethereum was decoupled from Bitcoin for a time, but it did end up catching up with Bitcoin, and it dropped a little harder. There's more confidence in the support structure under Ethereum back about a month and a half ago, but it did not manage to hold, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and take a look at... Actually, I take that back. Fortunately, it didn't manage to hold. I wanted it to get that out of the way. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the technicals. Looking at the daily chart, we can see that we are currently attempting to have some bullish MACD convergence. This would be a fantastic thing if we were able to see a bullish MACD cross. Now, at the moment, we're also seeing that the RSI is sitting down at 28. So Ethereum has had a little bit of a bounce. We did drop all the way down on the local low to 2189, and we have bounced all the way up to 2475, but we're still very low on RSI. In fact, we're at the lowest point on RSI since March of 2020, and that tells me that this market is overextended to the downside. It tells me that we should be expecting either a period of sideways movement or a period of rally, but probably not another major drop, because whenever the major whales and the institutional investors and power players, even the dolphins, have 10 to 100 Bitcoin, whenever they see, okay, RSI sitting down at 28, that's when you buy. That is the buy signal coming from RSI. Now, RSI is not designed to give you buy and sell signals. I want to be clear on that. It's designed to tell you who's stronger, the bulls or the bears, and it's saying the bears are stronger right now. But when you see the MACD doing what it's doing, the RSI doing what it's doing, the fear and greed index doing what it's doing, the Bitcoin doing what it's doing, the sentiment doing what it's doing, the on-chain doing it, I could continue. I'll spare you, though. Whenever you see that happening, then that's when you see the market start to get bought up by the smart money. The smart money was not buying up here, guys. That's why the market dropped, is because the smart money said, I'm gonna not buy up there when we're up, 2,000% from a year and a half ago. I'm gonna sell maybe, and that's how this whole thing started. And right now we're gonna see the same thing where the smart money starts buying at some point down here. Is it now? Is it at $1,700? The answer is technically both yes, but I think as we go lower, if we go lower, we're going to see a lot more buys going on. Now let's take a look at some other technical indicators. On the Bollinger Bands, we did breach the bottom of the Bollinger Bands, and we have seen the market starting to trade sideways here. That's a good thing. It means that the market is attempting a little recovery, but to be honest with you, with the way the candlesticks look right here, as we bottomed out on Bollinger Bands, not the most encouraging, guys. We have a lot of volatility, which is good. We want to see volume, volatility, and retail investor interest. Those are three things I always say help to turn around markets, but in the same way that we saw on Bitcoin, it's kind of a dead cat bounce right now, or at least that's what it's looking like. We started this drop at $3,400 and we're sitting at $2,400, and we really just are trading sideways down here. So if you look down on the 8-hourly chart, this almost just looks like on Ethereum a bear flag, and then that bear flag would give us a price target if we just extrapolated here of, you guessed it, $1,700, $1,775, $1,776. We're going all $1,776 on you, and that would basically put us back to exactly where we started back earlier last year. So Tim, what do you think about that bear flag idea? Because to be honest with you, we saw a bear flag. In fact, it was a bear pennant back in between the days of January 10th and January 20th, and that pretty much called where we are right now. So are we going to see this play out?
All right, so I think you talked about this on Bitcoin. I'm just looking at the candles right now, right? Because there's some bullish indicators when you look at TD sequential, and you look at RSI, and you look at MACD and everything else. But look at the candles. You're on the daily chart, right?
Yes, I'm on the 8-hour, but I'll go daily.
Let's see. This candle right here on the 24th, that's a bearish candle. Look, there is
really
no wick above that red candle, which means as soon as it opened, we went down. Now, we went back up. It's not the strongest bearish candle we've ever seen, but that's a bearish candle. Guess what it's been followed, though, by? 3 green candles. And look at those. One of them is darn near close to a spinning top. The other is it's still green, but an inverted cross. And now we have, what do we call that one? That's not a hammer. I mean, would we call that a hammer right there?
Shooting star.
Well, the one before was a shooting star.
Either
hammer,
way.
Hammer, doji, shooting star, and then hammer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's part of my just so you guys know, and I'm constantly always trying to learn and grow in my technical analysis. What I'm going through right now is memorizing all the different types of candles there are. What I know is I can see when one is bullish or bearish. I don't always know the names of them. There is a lot of confliction in these last couple days of candles on Ethereum, and so this is just communicating to me, and I put a post on Twitter about this. I want to remind people. I was looking at a post by Peter Brandt. If you don't know who Peter Brandt is, I actually heavily recommend you go follow him on Twitter. I think he is an amazing technical analyst. But he's a guy who, from time to time, seems to sometimes be bullish, sometimes be bearish. Very open-minded person. He's a little bearish right now, but he posted something about Bitcoin has a red inverted cross, right, which is traditionally bearish. But go back and do back analysis. There's lots of times in recent history that inverted crosses end up leading right into a bullish trend. So I want people to remember when they're looking at a technical analysis, and I love technical analysis. My name is T.A. Tim. I believe it is a phenomenal tool. Nothing is 100%. Not a single candle formation, not a single indicator, not a single chart formation. Nothing is 100%. And what we are seeing right now on every single coin, go look at all. Look at formations. There are indicators, there are formations that are both bullish and bearish. And right now we are at a massive indecision point. And I'm sitting in a spot right now that I'm not just waiting for formations or candles to tell me something. I'm waiting for the breakout to bring confirmation. And the truth is, if we break out to the upside, there are lots of different things that would have called that. If we break out to the downside, there are lots of things that would have called that. This is a massive decision point, and nobody likes that term. It frustrates me, and I have to say it. Yep. It frustrates Jebb, and he has to say it. But when there's a decision point, we have to tell you guys, we have a decision point here. And I think we're sitting in a massive one on the whole crypto market. So in my opinion on Ethereum, could it go down to 1,700? Absolutely. I also then would pair that with a lot of other things, like Bitcoin going down to 25,000 and Cardano potentially going back down to like 80 cents, maybe 85, somewhere in that region. I don't see that happening. It's not what, if I was a betting man in terms of I was just going to make a bet on where I thought the prices were going, I would bet that that's not going to happen. But if it does, I understand why it's going to happen. But I think there's too many people who seem to be too sure right now that we're about to rally back up or about to fall back down. The market doesn't know what's going to happen. Even watching the Fed news, and I know I'm rallying here for a second, so this will be the last point I make here before I send it back to Jebb. Even the market, if you look at what came out of that Fed news, half the media and half the analysts are saying, wow, terrible news from the Fed announcement. And the other half is saying, oh, this is amazing, we're going to be bullish. There is so much indecision in the market. Nobody knows what any of this truly means. So what I'm waiting for is a breakout. I understand what needs to happen for a bullish breakout. I understand what needs to happen for a bearish breakout. Now I'm just waiting and watching to make my next step.
That is absolutely right, and I completely agree with that sentiment. We sometimes think that we always have to make a decision that we're bullish or bearish, but there's actually 3 decisions that we can make, guys. You can be bullish, you can be bearish, or you can say, I don't know. And quite frankly, the more you say I don't know, the more you'll learn. That's called humility. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know what the market is going to do next. Hands up. It's kind of freeing to say that, isn't it? I think that Bitcoin is going to kind of trade sideways here for a little bit and then attempt to break to the upside. That's what my inclination is. But to be honest with you, the market's not clear. The fundamentals are unclear. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump into some super chats. But before we do, I'm going to let you guys spam the chat for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I want you to tell me, do you want to see altcoin analysis on Theta, Quant, Atom, AVAX, or Cardano? You can replay that. It's Theta, Quant, Atom, AVAX, or Cardano. Spam the chat. What do you want to see? We're going to read some super chats, and then we'll do technical analysis on one of those coins. So let us know.
Just before we go into super chats, I do want to say that sometimes we forget. Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing at all.
Exactly.
So right now with this indecision, you don't need to trade because you're bored and you're trying to have action. This isn't a casino. If you want it to be a casino and you want that sort of entertainment, then you're going to lose, much like the odds happen at a casino. So sometimes, like right now, it's just a time to just sit back, let the market show you where the trend is. Because right now we're very indecisive. We could be reversing, we could be continuing down. Let the market tell you which way it's going, and then you know what trend that you can place your trades on.
Yep, absolutely.
Real quick, what I want to do, I know he said that before we go to super chats, but I think there's something else that the chat really wants right now.
Yep.
And let's say 2 minutes, Smay, what are your thoughts about all of this? I know chat wants to see,
especially JT.
what you have to say.
I didn't see anything.
Oh, yes, they did.
Yeah, they did.
There's lots
a lot of people want to see what
Smay to talk.
Gosh, then ask me something more specific than just what are my thoughts.
That's a good point.
Well, so everything we just discussed, even with Ethereum, but even in relationship to what the market is in right now, what are your thoughts about where the market's going? I know you're growing your technical analysis, but what you seem to more pay attention to is sentiment and piecing different aspects together. What are your thoughts about the market as a whole right now?
I mean, it's just boring, dude. I don't know how else to put it,
boring,
and how
dude.
many different ways to say it. But guys, people aren't interested. and it's not like, and these indecisive Fed announcements are also not really helping. Like the fact is that even the announcement was boring. Now it's at this point, what's exciting? There's nothing exciting yet. I literally, if you guys are expecting exciting price movements with no exciting catalyst at all, I just don't even know. I just feel like it's just nothing is happening. That's just my.
But what I would add to that is that that's actually a good thing for your growth as a trader and and mindset. Is that I've said this before and I'll say it again: patience tested is patience built. You are having your patience tested right now. The whales are testing your patience. They're saying, can he or she survive through the boredom? Can they survive through the sideways movement? Can they survive through a downtrend? Can they survive through bad sentiment? Can they survive through fear, uncertainty, and doubt? Can they do this? You need to. You don't need to leave the space right now. You need to maybe pull back a little bit if you're bored and you got other stuff to do. I get that, but don't walk away from the space just because you're bored, because they're trying to shake you out, not just out of your trade, but they're also trying to shake out your mindset. Patience tested is patience built, and you're having your patience tested right now, so now you're going to build it by having that experience take place. ADA is the absolute winner. There's no question about it. So we're going to do some Cardano technical analysis here in a second.
Yeah.
And we got some interesting Cardano. We got some interesting Cardano content coming up in the next week. So subscribe to the channel. It's something that we've never done before. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at ADA. And but before we do that, we're going to go ahead and jump into a community discussion. So what do we have in super chats?
Yes. Let's see here. Joe, and there's a fun name, Ciccarelli. That's as close as I'm going to get. Would you say it is too risky to invest in altcoins now? Do you see an altcoin season happening in the near future? Thank you. God bless.
Bitcoin is going to have to rally before an altcoin season starts, because the altcoins, their confidence level, the confidence in altcoins is always led by Bitcoin. So you can think of Bitcoin like mommy and the altcoin like the kids, right? If mommy's really nervous, then the kids are going to kind of sense that, and then they're going to be really nervous and anxious. If mommy's really excited, then the kids are going to be really excited, and the sentiment kind of follows. So if the sentiment in Bitcoin is indecisive and the sentiment of Bitcoin is down, it's going to be kind of hard, unless it's a downtrend in a major obvious bull market rather than a lot of sideways movement right now, for the altcoins to run. So the altcoins will run when Bitcoin runs. There will be an altcoin season, and these markets will do very, very well. They're just not going to do that yet, in my opinion. One or two altcoins will pop off. There are some like Phantom that are still near all-time high. But in general, the altcoin space is probably going to stay down so long as Bitcoin is as well.
Let's see, moving on. We have one from Grand Roofing Incorporated saying, I know it's bad to catch a falling knife, but if you're planning on going long with no leverage, long term, is it still a bad idea?
I like this question, just FYI.
Smay, why don't you answer it?
No, you answer it.
Okay, well, reiterate the question real quick.
Okay, I know it's bad to catch a falling knife, but if you're planning on going long with no leverage, long term is still a bad idea, question mark?
No, it's a great idea in my opinion. If you're planning on holding Bitcoin for more than 2 to 3 years, you are statistically almost guaranteed to make a profit.
Yeah.
You know what's nice about trading with no leverage is that
You don't have to worry about it if it drops.
when you're in the red,
you just
don't sell.
You just
Like,
hold.
Yeah.
You just
no
hold.
one's gonna take that away from you.
You just hold.
Yeah.
That's the great thing.
That's why I love the question, because it's literally like that's exactly it. You just
what you're supposed to
buy.
do.
Like it's down, buy. You know what I mean? And I mean, obviously that's depending on what asset you're even talking about in the first place. But you know,
gotta have strong fundamentals and a proven
bought
track
in
record, but-
let's say you bought in when Bitcoin was at 42 and Cardano was at 140 and Ethereum was at 2,700. You don't have. No one's telling you have to sell, and it's not going away the way it does when it's leveraged. Just sit and wait.
You lost money on paper right now if your portfolio is down. If you sell, then you actually realize those losses. I've lost a lot of money on paper. I haven't sold any. I haven't sold any at all.
Andrew Sereno said, here from ATBC, which is around the blockchain, you guys killed the TA. Good channel, and I appreciate the early live stream.
Well, thank you so very much. We really appreciate that. We've been coming at you 9:30 live every single weekday for the last year, and we got a lot more in store this year. We got a lot of content coming out for you guys. I can't wait.
Eric Leon says, bear market, sell it all, and panic, LLJK, buy the dip.
Buy the dip, buy the dip. Tell me where that's from in chat.
goodness.
Let's see here. Carlos C. said, your thoughts on Spell token listed on Coinbase.
Not familiar with
I
it.
don't know anything about that.
Not familiar with it.
There was another one. So Moosey Moose said, should we buy Bitcoin or wait for a better price? He didn't want to say that we never answer regular chat. So Moosey Moose.
There you go.
We're answering the chat. So.
Yeah, so here's the deal. Dollar cost averaging is most effective in a downtrend because you're bringing down your average cost of Bitcoin purchasing. So dollar cost averaging is what I think is the best move right now. I've told some people that on our staff. I'm not your financial advisor, fair legal disclosure, but I think that is the wise move right now is to set up like a recurring buy order, like, hey, I'm gonna buy $50 every Friday, because if the market does keep going down, well then you're buying it over a course of time, and you don't have to worry about, oh, did I buy the dip correctly? Well, you're buying the dip every Friday. If it dips down to 29,000, then a Friday is going to happen while you're down there more than likely, so you'll buy some. That's what I would recommend doing. But if you do start that, and then you also have a lump sum, you can break it up into thirds or fourths or fifths and say, okay, I'm going to enter a third of my position here, a third of my position here, and a third of my position here, and then say I'm going to enter a third here, and if it goes this level, I'll enter another third, and if it goes here, I'll enter another third. I did that with Cardano. I entered at 142, I entered at 121, I entered at 109, and my average entry price is around like 120. I'm a little bit down right now. I might even buy some more down here. But that's the way that I would look at doing it. Try and split up your buys so that you ladder into a buy, into an investment, rather than trying to do it all at once.
Last one I see here from Shivang Goli. What will happen in 20 years in cryptocurrency?
You will see a complete financial revolution, the likes of which humankind has never witnessed. That's what's going to happen. And you're in on the ground floor of a $100 trillion market using 2022's money. And if you're using 2042's money, you're talking about probably a $10 quadrillion market, because the inflation of the dollar is going to continue.
Yeah, that's all we have for right now, so we can jump in.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into Cardano, and then we're going to continue on the stream here. Now, Cardano is sitting around $1.05, and it's in a very precarious spot. It actually has some bullish technicals that the rest of the cryptocurrency market doesn't really. It's got some very powerful bullish MACD divergence, and also some very powerful bullish RSI divergence. I think part of the reason that Cardano's technicals actually look a little bit better than the rest of the market is because before Bitcoin went into this major drop, Cardano was already dipping. It was already sustaining pretty large corrections. By the time November 10th came around, which was the day that this started, this downtrend started, Cardano was already down 25% from all-time high, and within a week of the downtrend starting on Bitcoin, it was already down 43% from all-time high. So we haven't seen Cardano get hit as hard in the last 2 months over December and January as we saw happen with Bitcoin and Ethereum, because it had already taken a dip. Now, the interesting thing that we're going to see here is, can Cardano hold $1? I personally think it can, unless some kind of total market collapse happens on Bitcoin and we start to see Bitcoin dropping really, really low, down to like $30,000 or something. I think Cardano probably will attempt to hold $1. But even if it doesn't hold $1, there are other support levels, such as you can see right here around 82 cents. Let me go ahead and draw this. It's not a very strong support level, but it is there. You can see it right there. And to be honest with you guys, I don't see Cardano having a massive capitulation event down here here, way down below this. Throughout its entire history, it has consistently sat above rank 15. I don't think at one point in pretty much its entire history has it ever been outside the top 15. So it could drop down here significantly down to where Polygon or Avalanche is, but it's going to come back, and it's going to come back stronger because it has very strong fundamentals, and because of the leadership of Charles Hoskinson, it is going to do very, very well in the long run. And as Charles Hoskinson says, the price doesn't really matter. Why does the price not matter? Because the price is downstream of the fundamentals. That's something Jeff Bezos understood when the stock price of Amazon dropped significantly in the 90s. That's what Elon Musk understands, that the price of the stock is separate from what the company itself is actually doing, and it's the same thing with Cardano. Cardano's price is separate from what the Cardano project is actually doing, and is doing a lot of good things. And when you provide value, value will come back to you in the form of market capitalization to your cryptocurrency or your stock, and that's why I'm invested in Cardano. Tim, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I think, as you said, that's significant. What I've been looking at is Cardano is different in the sense of both Ethereum and Bitcoin, because I think the three, more often than not, are usually semi-tied to each other, the price action. Yeah. They divert a little bit, but it's the only one that set up bullish divergence on the daily chart, which is super cool. Yeah. I do think before we see a significant rally in Cardano, we're going to need to see Bitcoin start to rally to the upside.
Agreed.
But what's happened, if you look at this last downtrend, they went down together. The difference is Cardano just went faster. Yeah. I think it's going to stay the same. I think they're both going to go up together. Cardano's just going to go up faster. I think you're going to see days where Bitcoin is up 5%, Cardano up 10%, and other days where Bitcoin's up like 15%, but Cardano's up like 30%. I think it's just going to do everything in a similar motion, just a lot more powerfully and quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and read any super chats we have left here, and then we're going to wrap it out and jump into our members only live stream. Can't wait for that.
I'm trying to look. Unless something just popped up. I don't see any other super chats. No. But I want to see if there's anything in chat that we can reference.
I was gonna. Did we say we were going to announce the interview today in the member stream? Right.
We did in the member.
Yes, okay. In the member stream, guys, we're going to announce who we're interviewing.
If that doesn't tell you, guys, I'm telling you, this is huge news. Yeah. So
it's huge.
So if you aren't a member,
become a member and figure out who we're interviewing.
Check out the Q&A, or you can wait. But
we did. There's a super chat that I missed it here, and Lockford 23. I'm going to preface this by saying I'm going to be very surprised if we have an answer to this question. But he said, "Can you talk about VV's NFT, please? At least share your thoughts." I have no idea what that is. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Sorry, man.
VeFi?
Like VEVE, VV or Veve. I don't.
Wait. V as in VE.
Vive. It's capital VE, capital VE.
Could it be to do with Gary
V?
It's not V-Friends,
I know literally today, right now, they just launched, ADAX just launched an NFT in partnership with VeFi, and this maybe there's a misspelling.
VEVE is what it says.
I don't know. Well, we appreciate the super chat, but I'm not sure, to be quite honest with you.
It's VV, so yeah, okay. I'm trying. A quick Google search.
We haven't looked into it.
Yeah,
we haven't looked into it. Sorry about that, man. Well, guys, make sure to check out Vincero Collective. The links are in the description box down below. They've got watches, they've got apparel, they've got all kinds of stuff over there that's going to make you look good, because we want to make sure that you're looking good for all of your friends, family, and any ladies or guys out there that you are trying to impress. And they do help you to look phenomenal. I was wearing this down at the North American Bitcoin Conference. I got several compliments on it. You saw it it was on me when I was interviewing Michael Kong. So guys, make sure that you go and check out Vincero Collective. The link's in the description box down below. Like I said, use crypto Jebb, CRYPTO JEBB at checkout for 15% off, and you will be glad you did. And also make sure to check out the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy if you want to learn more about technical analysis, so that you can figure out how to best work in these markets. We want to teach you how to think, not what to think, and we want to help to educate you, inform you, and entertain you here in the cryptocurrency space. We'll be back at you live 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5 days a week. We got some great content coming. Smash that like button if you haven't already. We will see you in the members only live stream. Chris McMillan's going to be there, it looks like, because he just became a Jebbi Knight. Shout out to you, my friend. Before I go, though, guys, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.